I'm gonna go crazy thinking about it, so this is my way of psychologically just dumping it. And I'm live. Hey, so today's a weird day. Uh, me,
Sure you're at a mama's home.
yeah, mom's home. Which brings us to today. We were getting our stuff ready or getting our paperwork ready for an appointment tomorrow for our passport cards. Because if you're an illegal, you can drive anywhere, but if you're a North American Free Trade Agreement, but if you're a citizen of the U.S., you can't go into Canada to get to Alaska. So we're hedging our bets either which way we go. But beside the point, uh, me and mom had to go do some computer work and print out some stuff and take passport photos. And we were in the parking lot, or I was. Mom was doing shit on the computer. I was getting frustrated, so I had to walk away because I hate using other people's shit because I have a process the way I do things, and it wasn't working out right, so I just got frustrated and walked out instead of getting pissy. There it was, minding my own motherfucking business, not bothering anybody. I'm smoking a cigarette. This woman walks up, and I thought, oh, I better get away from the door. So I walked to the center of the parking lot, which is quite a distance, over 40 feet. Because you have a line of cars, and then another line of cars, and then another line of cars. So it's a considerable distance away from the business. And I'm sitting there smoking my cigarette, and this little Asian woman, I don't know what kind of Asian, uh, 80, 85 pounds max. And I thought she was a kid at first until she took out her keys and had her little billfold in her hand. And I'm thinking she's walking to one of the cars that were close by me. And she walks right up to my face and coughs in my face and then tries to breathe like she's an asthmatic, right? Not saying anything. I don't know if she can speak English or not. But clearly making a thing of me smoking. But I wasn't around anybody. And I'm sitting there thinking, okay, and just move along. And she walks back to another row of cars and all the way down the parking lot. And this would have been a good time for her to get in her car and leave. But what does she do? She drives right back by to where I am. And I walk over and take a picture of her license plate. And then, of course, she ran. And I was telling Mom about it and some other people. And I'm like, she wanted to fuck around and find out, but most of these women, or most of the people today, women especially, they think they're Billy Badasses because nobody does anything to their bullshit. So they start thinking they're something they're not. Because you can't pick up a woman and strangle her with one hand and slam her head to the concrete, because then the headline would be white guy beats up Asian woman. Not that an Asian woman stepped up to a man, because she was less than arm length from me, like right here, because she was so tiny or short. And it's like, I keep telling people, be nice, wave, say hi, and all this other shit. But our society keeps doing this shit, falling down, spiraling into nothing, because the road to hell is slick as shit and all downhill. But a third of our society is on antidepressants. And if you're having a hard time not killing yourself, not self-eliminating, then the idea of doing something stupid doesn't seem that far-fetched or hurting somebody else. But mainly, don't fuck around and find out. But they start thinking, oh, I can go up to this guy in the middle of a parking lot, mind his own fucking business, that almost outweighs me by triple, that's 6'2"-ish, and I'm only 85 pounds and barely over 4.5 feet, and I'll go pick a fight that doesn't need to happen, right? The reason why we don't fight back is it's simply not worth our time. The moment we say or do anything, now we're the fucking racist asshole that spoke up. And the funny thing is, if anybody would have fucked with her in that parking lot, I'd have been the first one on their ass. I wasn't looking for a fight. And I'm sitting there just thinking the whole day, back in my younger days, I used to get in my car and follow them around a bit and scare the shit out of them. But now it's easier just to get a picture of a license plate and have a friend run their tabs and see where they live. But people don't think about that shit, right? you never assume, which leads us into the second part, that the guy you're dealing with, that you mouthed off to, and people say, well, you carry a gun. Yeah, if you carry a gun to be able to mouth off and pick fights, then you're obviously carrying a gun for the wrong reason. But at the same time, most people don't ever think, oh, that guy there that's minding his own fucking business and might be having a rough day and might be on the verge of doing something incredibly stupid, you know what I should do? I should go fuck with him. Instead of leaving him alone or saying hi, right? People in their own fucking minds never think about how dangerous or potentially dangerous the situation is. They want the instant gratification of, oh, I told that motherfucker off, right? And they'll sacrifice damn near everything to do this. And it just boggles my mind. And the more I talked about it, we started talking about I can't say her name, I'd probably butcher it. Half of y'all know I have problems with English or another language. But the Ukrainian woman on the bus, we spent a lot of time, me and Mom and some other people, talking about that today. And how simply minding your own fucking business and staying out of everybody else's business doesn't neglect the fact that you might get stabbed in the neck and die that day. And some other people had issues, well, why didn't the men step up and do something? Well, you sit there in our society now, and they don't want toxic masculinity. They want a man that they feel like that couldn't be dangerous to them and all this other shit. And, but yet, the moment a bad situation happens, all that feminist shit goes out the window, and you're like, well, hell, there was 2 men on that bus, or 3 men on that bus, and they didn't take the guy down. Well, first of all, there's a thing called bystander effect, right? Most people are freaked out about bad situations, and they take a step back mentally, and they're in shock, and they don't respond. The more bad shit you see in your life, the faster that response is, because everybody has it. Oh shit, that just fucking happened. You know, oh, this is what I'm going to do about it. But in our society, they don't want men to do about it. They want the program to work. They want the social order to work, even though it's collapsed at its most primitive function, right? Because what do? You mind your own fucking business, not bothering anybody, and all the laws in the book won't stop the psychotic sumbitch from stabbing me in the fucking neck. But then I got pissed off at the people I was talking to. I'm like, you know what? All these strong, independent women out there being, hurrah and picking fights and fucking around and finding out. Why is it none of the women did anything on that bus to tackle the men? And the person says, well, you're a big guy, you wouldn't understand. Really? Ask any big guy if they would rather fight somebody bigger than them or smaller than them. And I guarantee you, the vast majority of the time, they'll say, I'd much rather fight somebody bigger. Because I've had to outwork 2 men in my life. And I knew I was at the stage where I had to fucking do it or I had to admit defeat. And by God, I was going to hammer it out as long as possible not to admit defeat. One was an older white guy than me, and one was a younger half and half. That's all I'm going to say, of different things. And didn't have an ounce of fat on his body. And we were talking about it. And there's another person that we all know, and I'm like, that's the one person I wouldn't want to fight, because he doesn't have the willpower and the staying to stand there and slug it out or flip people and all this crazy stupid shit people believe in. No, he's going to go all spider monkey on your ass. Fucking angry cat, fucked up panda shit, And that's what you can't predict. You can always predict the big guy is going to move certain ways, but if you get close to him, it's going to be dangerous. But where are all these fucking women that go batshit crazy at the drop of a hat because somebody pissed them off? Why don't they go fucking 4-inch nails into their face or stabby pin and shit like that? Occupational weapons. They never do. They'll criticize everybody along the way, but they'll never act. And that's the whole thing. Our society is set up in such a way where they make a victim of the perpetrator as fast as they fucking can and criticize everybody else that ever did anything to fucking act or help. And there's some situations that are no-win situations. That lady could have been stabbed like that in the ER in any fucking trauma unit in the country, and her chances of living were dismal. Put a thumb in it, somebody said. Hell, I put a knee into a guy once to save his liver from fucking bleeding out. But there are situations in life where you're never going to be the one fixing the fight. You didn't know you were in a fight. You were sucker punched, or the situation happened where you were ambushed. And by the time you have your wits about you, you got about 30 seconds before you bleed out or pass out. And there's not a whole lot you can do. But yet, you perpetuated a society in America where anybody that can and will and does act is the bad guy and not the bad guy. You've done everything humanly possible in the last, mainly 10, 15 years to turn this shit around where the bad guy is the victim in every fucking capacity in our society, from the judges, the police, everything else, right? And I hate cops, I'll tell you. Every time a cop dies, it doesn't fucking bother me a bit. I have a little chuckle about that. But you always want somebody to be there and help you at your worst, but yet you set up a structure where anybody that acts, is the bad guy. And if you don't believe that, be around when the cops show up. You have to go in front of a jury and say, I'm not the guy at fault here. Try taking a piss next to a juror that tells you that you're guilty as shit, right? Beside the point. But then coming home, I was stirred up about this shit, and we were still talking about the lady, dear God, the activated hoodie squad, naturally now you want to sit at the back of the bus and have your back up against the wall and fucking watch everybody. And God forbid if they're a certain orientation with an activated hoodie, your chances of being fucked up or dead are significantly higher. But nobody is coming to save you. Nope. But then I'm sitting here trying to talk about things rationally and not getting upset. And then the show comes on. I always watch murder mysteries, right? And nobody wants to admit you raised a fucked up, spoiled cunt that could do no wrong and never accomplished anything and made every bad decision you could possibly make, and now she's dead. But since she's dead, you can't imagine you felt as a parent, or that the person was a shitty person, that the best thing she ever did was get killed, so now you have a platform to stand on, and somebody finally wanting to interview your dumbass. You have to admit, it's not the woman's fault for being killed, but she did everything humanly, every bad mistake she could possibly make, everything along the way she could possibly do, and yet, what happened? She ends up dead. Big fucking shocker, right? So what do we need? We need another law in the books in her name so that it never happens to anybody else. Somebody, for the love of God, show me one criminal that ever stopped an act because he said, you know what, stabbing somebody in the neck is probably not a legal thing to do. I shouldn't do it. There's no law on the books that will stop anybody. They merely hold people accountable after the fact. But trying to keep people in jail now. That's the issue. How do you keep bad people in jail and good people safe while you keep the good people unarmed and accountable for their actions and not the criminal? And the reason I say this is the great unicorn virus, the one thing I can't say. We can't say what it is. We have to say SA. We can't call it the grape word. We have to call it the R word. So forth and so on. You can't say suicide. You have to say self-eliminated and all these other fucking rules on social media. Back to the guy in jail in a second. Well, they passed a law saying this woman's name, this is the law, the new law in the books that already made shit that was illegal. Congratulations. Who gives a shit? Won't stop anybody. Now they're wanting to say anything you say or do online that's hurtful or condescending or against their feelings or brings up something that didn't need to be brought up. Now they want to hold people accountable. They want to make it a law to say mean or hurtful, dangerous, upsetting, different opinion shit online because you can't stop the Rist and the essayist and the physical assaults and the murders and anything like that. No, you want to criticize anybody that has an opinion on the story after the fact, and that's who we need to go after. The vast majority of good people that merely have a different opinion than you, that's who we need to hold accountable, not the people that did all these dangerous crimes, right? And for those of you that don't know, when the unicorn virus happened, I had the opportunity to go into the courtroom, and the case that was being heard that I was there was in emergency court because the courts were so fucking backlogged. There was a guy, I don't know if he had an activated hoodie or not, but you can see where I'm going with this. At Thanksgiving dinner, he stabbed 2 of his relatives. Luckily, nobody died. It wasn't for the lack of trying, but nobody died. He got bail, and he walked out of the courtroom, right? This was some while ago, before the unicorn virus. While on parole, not parole, what do you call it, where you pay the money, while on bond for that crime that everybody knew he committed, the unicorn virus happened. And since then, he was busted coming across the border with, Bell, thank you. He was busted coming across the border with 2 kilos. He robbed the pizza guy that was delivering pizza, and the pizza guy knew it was him because the day before he ordered a pizza, and he said, wow, that's a lot of cash. Next day he ordered another pizza, went back there and got robbed. So he busted with 2 kilos. He robbed the pizza guy at gunpoint, and then he picked up a felony fleeing in a car. He's in a stolen car. He ran from the cops in a stolen car. So he picked up 3 other charges while he was on bail for stabbing his 2 family members, right? Well, since he's an activated hoodie clan, they let him go all 4 times. So he was in court. Oh, no, 5. He also burgled a house with a person that was in it here in the state of Texas. All of the crimes happened in the state of Texas. He burgled a house with an old lady in it that was over 85, so over 65 mark gets you another crime. And he punched the shit out of her, which was assault while armed. And that was on videotape, 5 crimes. And the judge says, look, we found out about the 5th crime while we were in court. You're on bail for the original crime. Why they let you out, I don't know. But they offered him a plea bargain, right? He says, let's wrap all these 5 crimes up, and if you plead guilty, I'll give you 7 years. And he says, no. He says, I want to take it to court. Why? And I didn't find this out. And he says, no, I want to take it. And the judge says, look, I beg you to take this thing for 7 years for these crimes because nobody's dead. The judge actually said that. Nobody's dead. Let's go to jail for 7 years. A hard 7. You'll get out. You'll be your own man. And he said, no, let's take it to trial. So I'm sitting at the back of the court where the people are talking, and the judge says, look, I'm going to give you a minute to decide this with your lawyer. Go back there before you give me your final answer. And the guy is sitting right behind me, right? And he said, no, I'm not pleading to 7 years, because if I plead guilty to 7 years, I go to jail right now today. If I say let's go to trial, it might be 2 years before I see the inside of a courtroom again. So the judge took his plea, because you can say not guilty and go. And I shit you not, 5 hardcore crimes, and I rode in the elevator with that son of a bitch. He walked to his car right in front of me. That's the court system, that's the system set up. If you or I did any one of those 5 crimes, we'd be in jail. But since he was an activated hoodie guy, and the social justice and all this other shit, he walked. Burgled a house, punched an old lady in the face, robbed a pizza guy at gunpoint, had the 2 kilos, stolen car in Corpus Christi running from the cops, and stabbed 2 of his family members. And this was all before the unicorn virus. And that sumbitch walked back to his car in front of me. That's our social justice program. As long as you're a member of the Activated Hoodie Squad, you walk for some mystical reason. And that's entirely what all these women and all these progressives support. But yet when something bad happens, they say, well, why didn't he go to jail one of those 5 times? Well, why didn't the system hold him accountable? Let's put more laws on these people that aren't breaking any laws. Let's handicap them the best as possible. Let's take their masculinity away and criticize their actions afterwards and hold them accountable. And let's pass a law making what they say held against them. But let's let the social justice, the activated hoodie team walk the streets to commit more crime. So hopefully I said everything I'm going to say. I'm going to just chill out now. Go fuck yourselves. situation awareness, keep your back up against the wall. They say don't be paranoid, right? Oh my God, you're always thinking about this shit. Oh my God, where you sit on the table. Oh my God, you notice that they have sharp knives in this fucking restaurant. How do you live your life like that? How do you live your life being a white woman from a refugee, war-torn nation to have your throat slashed by an activated hoodie guy on a bus when you didn't do a fucking thing wrong? What do you do when a little Asian woman walks up to you and wants to start a fight over something that you were off by yourself in the middle of a fucking parking lot? How do you hold people accountable for their actions, or not hold people accountable for their actions, but want to hold people accountable for their opinion in harsh words after the fact? Y'all made this society, and now y'all want it to snap back when it justifies y'all. That's all I've got to say. Go fuck yourself.